What's going on YouTube? Today's video, I'm going to do a brief review on Horo's prototype jump brake tip and install it on my carbon fiber shaft. This is Horo's new prototype jump brake tip. This is how it looks. If you zoom in and look at that. It looks like the Black Storm itself, but I already installed this on my other brake shaft. It's on my wood and it's a little bit different. Also when I cut it, it's a lot different. So let's go ahead. First we'll open up the White Storm and you can see and compare it because this is a jump brake tip. So we'll open up the White Storm, and when you open up the White Storm, this is what you'll get. And of course the little QR code in the back and a little brief on how to install it and how to use the White Storm. But let's go back to the prototype. So it's not much difference until you install it and see how it plays. But we'll go ahead and measure them. So I have this in millimeters, and one thing I like about Horo tips on their brake and their jumps, they're 15 millimeters because now you can see that a lot of the jump cues are 14 millimeters. So this one just a little shy of 15 millimeters. I mean 14 millimeters, almost 14.89 millimeters, and a lot of the, like I said, the jump cues are 14 millimeters. And this is the Black Storm, and again you'll get a little card and a QR code in the back. But this is the Black Storm, and this one is also 15 millimeters, and like the prototype 15 millimeters. But if you look closely, they look pretty much identical. But when I cut it, the Black Storm itself, it has when you cut it on the lathe, it doesn't chip. It's a one strand. But when I cut this, it's also a one strand, but it's real fibrous. So they might put something inside that I don't know yet because they didn't tell me. But from what I used for jumping and for braking, this tip is really awesome. So I really like this prototype tip, and that's why I'm gonna put it on my carbon fiber shaft, because I already have it on my wood shaft for my braking, and you can see how it cuts and how it is. Before I do that, I'm gonna go hit a ball with my Black Storm so that you can hear the sound difference, because I noticed a big difference when I installed it on my wood shaft. The sound is a lot different. So I'm going to do that. I have the Black Storm installed on my carbon fiber brake cue. Before I install the prototype, let's go do a test sound on how this sounds, because I noticed when I installed it on my wood, the prototype of my wood shaft, my brake shaft, it sounds a lot different. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I don't know if you guys heard that, but that's how the Black Storm sounds. But if you do a comparisons on how they look, they pretty much look the same. You can't really tell the difference. But once I put it on the lathe and start doing the cut, you'll notice how it's a lot different. I got the carbon fiber shaft already installed in my lathe, and I'm gonna go ahead and remove the Black Storm. And this is what I'm talking about when I remove the Black Storm, and you'll see how it doesn't really chip. This is my G10. So this is what I'm talking about. This is how the Black Storm looks like. See how it's almost stringy? So once I install the prototype, I'll let you guys see how it looks and how much difference it is. Now I'm gonna get my pad ready for installation. So what I like to do first is, of course, clean it with alcohol. But before I do that, touch it up on a razor blade. Make sure there's no high spots. And then I actually just score the G10 itself. I don't like scoring the tip because it'll be, especially with synthetic tips, it's not leather tips. It'll be prone to cracking, so you don't want to do that. You don't want to actually score these and have cut marks on these. And one trick I saw one guy do when they sand the tips is they actually use like a bottle type. I'm just using regular pledge. Instead of using a flat surface and sanding on the flat surface, they actually use like a bottle, hard bottle itself, and sand it. So best way to do it, what I do, is actually mark the tip itself. I just use a regular permanent marker, and what that does, it tells me the clock position. So I'll start at 12 o'clock, sand it, move it to 3 o'clock, a little bit sanding, then 6 o'clock, and then bring it back to 9 o'clock, and then 12 o'clock. So that way you get a full flat surface itself. You're sanding it that way. Versus having it this way, what I saw is you could put irregularities where you're actually sanding it differently. So they said send it this way. So do the 12 o'clock again, do the 3 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and then 9 o'clock. And with the synthetic tips, you don't really need to put a thin layer of super glue like how I would put on leather. That wicks into the leather itself and helps it bond to the shaft itself. But with the synthetic, it actually bonds to the tip itself, to the shaft, pretty good. So I'm gonna go ahead and clean this, put this away. I just use regular alcohol, rubbing alcohol, to clean it. Make sure there's no dust, and you don't want to touch it. And when I install the tip itself, what I like to do is actually extend the shaft. That way I'm not gluing anything here and getting some glue into the chuck joint, the chuck itself. So I'll just extend it that far. Lock that in. Clean it. I always use paper towels just in case I have excess glue and I don't want it on my bed of my lathe. And I just use this. This is a dead center. What this dead center does is just help put pressure on the tip itself when I actually glue it on. So I just use regular super glue, CA glue, and I just refill this. This is from Hobby Lobby, but I refill it with the Amazon brand, and it actually works good. I haven't had a tip really fall off, so that's the biggest thing. It doesn't pop off unless you abuse it and miscue and hit it wrong. It might pop off, but I haven't had any failures with this. That's pretty much what it is. It's just a regular thick tip. So, and unfortunately with the bigger diameter tips, it's hard to use like a centering tool for the tip itself that they'll use. I have one for my leather tips, but with this one you have plenty of room, because this is, like I said, almost 15 millimeters, and some are 15 millimeters. That's a little excess glue. I just make sure it's fully coated on the shaft and the pad, and I try to center it as best as I can. And that glue there falling. And the thing is, you don't want to put too much pressure on the tailstock. So you just want to have it there to hold the tip in place. And then once you get that installed where it's pretty much center, let it sit. And I actually like using the accelerant, just a regular accelerator, to actually speed up the process. But I still wait the 5 to 10 minutes to let the glue actually cure on the inside, not just on the outside. So we're gonna go ahead and let that cure, and then once it cures, we're gonna go ahead, cut it and shape it. The glue has set. It's been a little bit over 5 minutes. And I put the accelerator, that's how this white stuff. A lot of installers will put tape around the shaft and wipe off the excess glue. One thing, this is my shaft, so don't really care. And I know how to clean all this up. So that's why I could already see it in the comments. He didn't put tape. I'm never going to send him the tip and send him my shaft and make him do the work. So anyways, but like I said, this is mine, and I know how to get rid of all that, make it all look nice and pretty. So now to prep it for cutting. Check this, make sure it's tight. Get this a little closer so the shaft doesn't deflect. So this is the big thing. I'm gonna cut some of this off, and you'll see the comparisons, what I'm talking about when I cut this tip. So first I'm gonna do the sides, and then I'll do the front. That way you'll see it. So I like to get this as close as possible to the shaft itself. See, it's not like a G10 where it chips a lot, but you can see how this one chips, especially once I cut it on the front part of the tip. You'll see it. Now I like to get this as close as possible because this tip is actually really hard. It's not G10 hard where you have to sand it and file it almost, but it's pretty hard. I use a brand new razor blade, and it's very hard to cut. It's not like the Blackstorm. Blackstorm is pretty easy to cut. It's a good tip to cut. It's hard, but not as hard as this. So this is what I'm talking about. So I'm going to cut the front, and you'll see how it doesn't string up. So this is the string. I'll turn off my leg so my fingers don't get chopped up. But see how they easily break? And I have the old one on the Blackstorm, so this is the Blackstorm. See how it takes force to actually cut this, unlike this one. So I'll cut a little bit more. I don't like tall tips, so like on my brake shaft, my jump shafts, even my plane cues, all my tips are pretty short. I don't like tall tips at all. Here's a better one. This is pretty long. So see how it's not easier to cut, and you can see how much I cut also. They're almost the same thickness. But see how this one's easy to break. But the thing is, I actually tried this tip already. Like I said, it's on my wooden shaft, and it breaks amazing. The power I get from it, it generates a lot more power, and for the jumping, that's also amazing because I have it on my jump cue. So now what I'm going to do is actually get this flush. See if you guys can see that. Yep, you guys can see that. I just use this as a rest. It's supposed to be for boring, but that's not really what I use it for. This is actually what I use for boring. This is a carbide, so it doesn't flex. This one has a little bit so long and it flexes. But get a brand new razor blade. I always double check, make sure I spin the lay, that way I have no interference, and I always double check, I make sure it's tight. So all this white stuff is pretty much the super glue. Cleaning that first. And cutting this tip, you gotta be patient. You can't just rush it. You wanna force the razor blade to cut the tip itself. And this synthetic tip, it's not like leather. Leather, I would have been already flush with this. Once I get it close to flush, then I'll start rounding it off. Alright, just to have this little makeshift. All this does is give me support on the edges. That way the blade doesn't flex. So I use a old blade for giving it the shape, because I'll be going back to the new blade and getting a final cut. What I'm trying to do is actually get this a little closer. It's still too high for me. I don't like that tall tip, like I said. It's a little too tall, so I'm shaving it down more. Now I'm getting the shape I want. Now to get this flat. Get it flush to the shaft itself. Because I have it a little flared out. Yeah, this tip is really hard. It's like going through the blades. You have to get a new blade. One trick, since it's so smooth, what I like to do is actually get the rough sandpaper. scuff it up. And be careful not to sand the shaft itself, because you don't want to change the diameter of the shaft. So now it has where the razor blade can actually bite a little bit more of the tip. I like to round these a little bit off on the edges, because when you break on, naturally when I break, I'll have the tip run through the cloth, and I don't want having these so sharp that I'll cut the cloth, and especially in a pool hall, I don't want to be paying for cloth. So I'll round these a little bit, make sure that the edges aren't sharp. That way when I actually stroke through the ball and the tip goes to the cloth, it's not going to cut it. So now I'm just cleaning it up. Started with just 80, and then this is just 400, this one's 600. These are all old sandpapers and they still work. This one just buff it. My little Q wax. This one's give it a little shine, make it look good. So previously you saw all that glue mark here and everything, and now just the razor blade, it cleans it all up, and you don't even cut the carbon. That's one thing about carbon fiber. If you're actually cutting carbon fiber with a razor blade, your angle is like not correct. That's the big thing. Now just stuffing it. Now let's get it its final. I use this to just scuff it all up, make sure there's no points. It's not pointed, it's actually a little bit round. And then I'll scuff it up with the 80. That way you can hold chalk. And round those edges a little bit. Up. And finally, want to score the tip itself because it's really smooth. So this is the Horo tip scuffer, and the way to do it is actually you don't rub it this way, you actually just roll it. And you put pressure on one side, you'll notice it'll go this way, and then you rotate it this way, same direction on the rotation, and it'll climb the other way. So, and that's all you're doing. All you're doing is putting little indentions on the tip, and once I take this out, you'll see it. So let's go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Normally I vacuum all this, but since I'm making the video, I don't have the vacuum, or else I'll have to be talking over the vacuum, and that doesn't make sense. Let's inspect it. And you can see it's all flush, it's all straight, no glue marks. And you can see the indentation from the tip tool. This tip tool is amazing. The stainless steel, it's like sandpaper, and you can see all that. But this is how it looks. So I'm gonna go ahead and hit the ball, and you can hear the comparisons. I'll put the before and after on how it sounds. But this is how it looks. So I just finished installing the prototype, the Horo prototype tip. This is how it looks. I showed it to you a little earlier, but let's go ahead and put some chalk. This is just your regular Toms. See how it holds the chalk really well. And wipe that off a little bit. Normally everyone plays with Master. That's what I play with also. I play with Masters, and you can see how this tips hold chalk. It's not like a G10 where it doesn't hold chalk. That's one thing I like about this tip, because like I said, I tried it earlier. So what we're also gonna do is we're gonna go hit the cue ball with this tip, and let's see if it sounds any different. So this is the Horo prototype tip, the jump break tip, and let's see how it sounds. Let's do that one more. You can see it's a lot louder. That's what I noticed. It's not like a G10, but it hits like a G10. Because like I said, I used it on my wood shaft, and it broke amazing. I have it on my jump cue, and it jumps amazing. So hopefully this tip comes out to the market so everyone can have it, because this tip, what they did, like, I don't know if they reinforced it with the same formula as the Black Storm, but it's amazing. I just gave a brief description and installed the Horo prototype jump break tip. Before I do my outro, I want to share this to you guys. Horo sent me some promotional tips to give away in Las Vegas. I have some of the Black Storm and the White Storms. And if you see me in Las Vegas, come say hi to me. If I still have some of the tips, I'll be handing these out. I can give you one of your choice of the Black Storm or the White Storm. Also, if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and leave a comment down below. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
Thank you for watching. Please subscribe me. Don't forget the thumbs up. Bye bye.
I just gave a brief description and installed the Horo prototype jump break stick.